The theme of today's discussion is really on the future of pre-kindergarten. And with a lot of discussions on what's going on with infrastructure across the country, the educational system for our rising youth and our country as a whole has been brought up as a possible discussion to be considered as infrastructure. And so as we've seen with major shifts in public health, increased recognition of the importance of childhood development and the strain on American families balancing work and home, the question we want to ask today is, should early childhood education be viewed as national infrastructure?
I think we have a huge problem. The reality is that our system is deeply underfunded and isn't meeting most families' needs. Only 36% of the kids who are eligible to be enrolled in Head Start are actually enrolled, which means that there are families across the country who are under the threshold who would qualify for Head Start, but because we don't have enough funding for Head Start programs, they can't get access to it. The problem is that when we don't have all of these kids in the right programs, we're losing out on the competition with the rest of the world. So US enrollment in preschool is the 5th lowest among OECD countries. That's really bad, and it means that we are losing out on that economic potential later on down the road.
If you're talking about a family that has very limited means, their ability to fund pre-K for their kids is quite limited, and so many of them don't do it, and the returns could be quite high. But if you're funding pre-K for many middle-class families, you're simply substituting government funding for the private funding that the parents would have provided to have their children be in pre-K or some other suitable program. Okay? And so it's natural that you wouldn't expect nearly the same returns because you're mainly displacing something that would have already happened. And so I think if the question is, do some of such programs pay significant returns, okay, when they're directed at people who would really not get significant pre-kindergarten childcare, the answer is yes. If the question is, are there obviously positive returns to expanding that to be universal or substantially greater than we do now, the answer is much less persuasive.
The real question to ask is, if you're going to provide this service, which is, the provision of sort of direct care, which is kind of what Head Start is and what competitors would be, how do you create a series of national organizations at high standards? And I think there's a fundamental problem because most people who want to fund Head Start and other programs want to have government funded programs. My personal belief is the direct provision of care, unless the politics change, should remain in the hands of the government. And the private sector should be more focused on empowering individuals and creating the technology infrastructure required for nonprofits and individuals to take advantage of these programs.
Dollars need to go toward quality education, and that means proper facilities for young children, teacher training, so that we're not just mindlessly putting our children into some kind of childcare, right? So that parents can work, but childcare that is going to have a positive impact on them. Teachers that are well trained in child-centered education, teachers that know how to handle challenging behaviors, maybe families that have specific needs, children with special needs, facilities that are designed thoughtfully for the needs of young children and the things that they need specifically. We need to put dollars toward that.